Imagine a city where knowledge was more precious than gold. A city where the streets hummed with the quiet energy of scholars debating philosophy, astronomers plotting the heavens, physicians perfecting their craft, and poets composing verses so exquisite they could capture the soul. This city was Córdoba, the heart of Al-Andalus, medieval Muslim Spain, a place that shone brighter than many European cities of its time. But what made Córdoba, and Al-Andalus more broadly, truly extraordinary, wasn't just wealth, architecture, or political power. It was the devotion to knowledge, the libraries. Vast, magnificent, and now almost entirely lost. These were not just rooms filled with books. They were sanctuaries of human thought, where the accumulated wisdom of civilizations from Greece, Rome, India, and the Arab world was translated, preserved, debated, and expanded. Today, we embark on a journey into the lost libraries of Al-Andalus. What treasures did they hold? What wisdom did they contain that might have changed the course of history? And why, despite their immense importance, are so few traces left? To answer these questions, we must step back into a world of scholars, philosophers, poets, and rulers who believed that knowledge was the highest form of power. The story of Al-Andalus begins in the early 8th century, when Muslim forces crossed into the Iberian Peninsula. The region quickly became a melting pot of cultures, languages, and religions. Christians, Muslims, and Jews coexisted, exchanging ideas, techniques, and stories. In this environment, knowledge flourished. Córdoba, the capital, became a beacon of learning. Under the Umayyad Caliphate, the city grew rapidly, eventually becoming one of the largest and most cultured cities in the world. Its population at the height of its glory is estimated to have been over 500,000, a remarkable number for the medieval period. But what truly set Córdoba apart was its libraries. One chronicler claimed that the Caliph Al-Hakam II's personal library alone contained 400,000 books, a staggering number even by modern standards. These libraries were carefully curated. Manuscripts from the ancient Greek world, including works by Plato, Aristotle, and Galen, were translated into Arabic. Texts from India, such as medical treatises, mathematical works, and astronomy guides, were brought into the city and carefully preserved. Even texts from China, though fewer in number, found their way into Al-Andalus, carried along the network of trade routes stretching across continents. But the libraries were more than storage spaces. They were living centers of thought. Scholars copied texts meticulously, adding their own observations. Doctors debated surgical techniques. Astronomers calculated the positions of stars. Mathematicians developed algebraic methods, and poets created works of extraordinary beauty. Knowledge was active, alive, and constantly growing. One could spend a lifetime in a single library, discovering something new every day. A medical student might compare Galen's theories with those of Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, while simultaneously learning about new surgical instruments and treatments developed in Al-Andalus itself. Astronomers could trace the paths of planets with precision unmatched in most of Europe. And poets would sit quietly, composing verses in Arabic or Hebrew, often copying them into elegantly illuminated manuscripts. To truly appreciate the depth of these libraries, it helps to imagine what they contained. There were works on medicine, detailing the treatment of fevers, eye diseases, and even complex surgeries. There were texts on astronomy, including star charts, lunar calendars, and calculations that allowed scholars to predict eclipses with incredible accuracy. There were books on mathematics, exploring algebra, geometry, and trigonometry. And there were treatises on philosophy, ethics, and theology, weaving together ideas from multiple civilizations into a rich tapestry of human thought. But who were the people who kept this knowledge alive? Scholars, scribes, and librarians were the guardians of these precious treasures. They were trained from a young age in the art of copying, translating, and preserving texts. Their work was meticulous, requiring patience, skill, and an unshakable respect for the knowledge they handled. The libraries were buzzing with activity. Scholars debated philosophy in one hall, while astronomers in another plotted the movements of the stars. Students gathered around teachers, learning not just to read and write, but to think critically, to question, to discover. It was a culture where curiosity was encouraged, and where the pursuit of understanding was considered the highest virtue. The most famous library of all belonged to Caliph Al-Hakam II. Chroniclers described it as vast, with hundreds of thousands of volumes, some so rare that scholars from across the Islamic world came to study. The Caliph employed dozens of scribes and translators, whose sole job was to copy manuscripts, translate them into Arabic, and catalog them. The library became a center of intellectual life, attracting the brightest minds of the era. But life in these libraries wasn't just about copying texts. Scholars constantly sought new knowledge. They corresponded with experts in distant lands, sending letters and manuscripts across North Africa, the Middle East, and even into Europe. This network of knowledge exchange made Al-Andalus a hub of intellectual activity, a place where ideas were not only preserved, but expanded. Some accounts even describe libraries that were open to the public, or at least to the city's educated elite. Students could read texts under supervision, scholars could debate in quiet halls, and ideas flowed freely. In many ways, these libraries were the medieval equivalent of modern universities, serving as centers of learning, debate, and cultural exchange. What exactly did these libraries hold? It's impossible to know fully, because so much has been lost. But historians have pieced together clues from surviving manuscripts, references in later works, and chronicles from travelers who visited Córdoba and other Andalusian cities. In medicine, the libraries contained treatises that detailed surgical techniques centuries ahead of Europe. They explained how to perform cataract surgery, treat wounds, and even prepare medicines from plants and minerals. Physicians in Al-Andalus were highly respected, and their work influenced European medicine for generations. In mathematics, scholars studied and expanded on the works of Al-Khwarizmi, the father of algebra. Geometry and trigonometry were applied not only in mathematics, but in architecture, helping build mosques, palaces, and bridges of stunning precision and beauty. Astronomers charted the stars, calculated lunar and solar eclipses, and refined the astrolabe, a tool that allowed sailors to navigate across the Mediterranean with remarkable accuracy. Philosophy and ethics were also central. Texts from Aristotle and Plato were translated, studied, and debated. Jewish, Christian, and Muslim scholars discussed ethics, theology, and human nature. In this environment, knowledge was not separated by religion or culture. It was united in the pursuit of understanding. Literature, poetry, and the arts flourished alongside science. Manuscripts were illuminated with exquisite calligraphy and ornamentation. Poets wrote in Arabic, Hebrew, and Latin, often blending styles and themes. Stories of love, honor, and adventure were recorded, some of which influenced European literature centuries later. Even knowledge of the natural world was meticulously catalogued. Botanists described plants and their medicinal properties. Zoologists recorded animal behavior. Geographers mapped rivers, mountains, and cities. Observations about climate and agriculture were carefully noted, forming an early foundation for environmental science. Yet, for all their brilliance, these libraries did not survive the test of time. Political turmoil, war, and religious conquest led to the destruction of countless manuscripts. The Reconquista, which culminated in 1492 with the fall of Granada, was particularly devastating. Libraries were burned, looted, or abandoned. Scholars fled or forced into exile. In an instant, centuries of accumulated wisdom vanished. Imagine the loss. Entire collections of mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, literature gone. Works that could have accelerated Europe's scientific revolution. Works that might have inspired innovations centuries earlier, lost to fire and neglect. Some manuscripts were hidden, smuggled, or preserved in private collections, but the vast majority were never recovered. Historians today can only speculate about what was lost. References in surviving texts hint at incredible discoveries, at insights that could have changed the course of history. The libraries of Al-Andalus were not merely cultural centers. They were engines of intellectual progress. Their destruction represents a loss not just for Spain or the Islamic world, but for all of humanity. Despite this immense loss, the influence of these libraries endures. Many surviving manuscripts were translated into Latin and eventually reached European universities. The knowledge preserved in Al-Andalus helped spark the Renaissance. Algebra, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, and literature all carry traces of this lost civilization's brilliance. The legacy of Al-Andalus is also cultural. Poetry, calligraphy, architecture, and philosophy from this period continue to inspire. The idea that knowledge is sacred, to be studied, preserved, and shared, owes much to the scholars of medieval Spain. They created a model for intellectual pursuit that resonates even today. And perhaps the most inspiring thought is that even in loss, knowledge can survive. Fragments of manuscripts, ideas preserved in other texts, and the echoes of these libraries live on. They remind us that curiosity, study, and the pursuit of wisdom are timeless. Every time we open a book, visit a library, or study a manuscript, we are connecting with that tradition. A tradition that once thrived in the lost libraries of Al-Andalus. The lost libraries of Al-Andalus are a testament to the heights humanity can reach when knowledge is treasured. They show us a civilization that valued learning above wealth, that celebrated curiosity and innovation, and that built a culture of intellectual wonder. While much of that knowledge is lost, the legacy remains. It whispers to us across the centuries, inviting us to imagine, to explore, and to continue the pursuit of understanding. Perhaps somewhere, hidden in an old chest or forgotten archive, a manuscript waits, ready to share a secret that could once again illuminate the world. And so, when we think of libraries today, we should remember that they are more than buildings. They are guardians of human thought, beacons of creativity, and bridges across time. The lost libraries of Al-Andalus may have vanished, but the spirit of their knowledge continues to inspire, reminding us of what is possible when curiosity and wisdom guide our way. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the past. If you wish to explore more forgotten stories, remarkable civilizations, and the wonders of human knowledge, please like, subscribe, and journey with us as we uncover the marvels of history, one story at a time.